All right, back in the middle of turn 7. I've been trying to get this video done. I keep messing up, either not doing the video or not doing the log right. Um, so to start with, I got to fix some mistakes from last turn. Thanks to MX5007's comments on YouTube, I realized that, first of all, this helicopter unit that failed its ammo check should now be in low ammo status, which means it has a single volley of the anti-tank guided missiles left, and then it is out of that ammo. He also pointed out to me, I assume he's a he, that this infantry unit here fired on the Soviets up here. This unit should be ops complete. It's another mistake I made. I'll get to that in a minute. But this is cultivated terrain. This is cultivated terrain. This is cultivated terrain. So these are obscuring terrains. If you trace line of sight through a single obscuring terrain hex, you suffer a penalty, which I had failed to realize. And if you go through two or more of them, it blocks line of sight completely. So that shot could not have happened. So I went back and unreduced and undisrupted the unit, the Soviet tank that was fired on, and I removed the ops complete marker from the infantry, and we're going to pretend like that never happened. I also forgot to do a missile reload roll for them, but don't need to worry about that because I goofed on the whole thing. I also had forgotten to move some of the T-80s down when I last did the 345th tank Guards Tank Regiment, so I drove them down here. And if you've been watching any of these videos, you know that I'm pretty flaky and easily distracted, and I miss a lot of things. Even by my standards, this was absurd. I did this whole thing in the last video about this helicopter here. What should it do if it went too high? It could take fire from this unit, and so I ended up just having it fire up here at this unit. Not even the foggiest notion that I was conducting friendly fire. So that's fine. That friendly fire actually happens, as I understand it. So we'll just go ahead and leave all those results as they were, which were nothing. The hit that it scored was saved, but that was a pretty embarrassing moment for me. Okay, so and the next card pull was the designated formation for East Germany. So they have a choice. They can activate the infantry over here, the mount armored infantry, or they can activate what's left of their T-72s. The infantry are trying to get down here and capture this objective. They're in a lot of ways kind of exposed up here, so it seems to me pretty clearly the case that this is the formation to be activated. Now, I'm checking command range here, and I see that this infantry unit is out of command. I am allowed to redeploy my headquarters and to any friendly unit in the formation under certain conditions. The conditions, I believe, are met for me to deploy it here, which would then place all the units in command, which is going to matter, and it will also help me with rally rolls here, which we'll conduct next. I just have to move that headquarters off. So these units are mounted, so the transport is disrupted, which means that the inner unit is disrupted. So I'm going to do a morale check for this unit, and it passes. So these units are rallied. Didn't even need the additional assistance of the headquarters, but that's not what I wanted to do. I want to rally them. And these units here will now attempt our rally. I'm just going to roll the infantry unit. It'll apply for both. And that fails miserably. They really don't want to go anywhere or do anything right now, which is kind of silly because they're staring down the barrel of a pretty powerful anti-tank missile. And now these units up here, let's see if they want to get back in the game. They do not. They're happy hiding behind the wrecks of their comrades. And so now the formation is activated. Now, another thing that I did talk about in a previous video is these Germans have some off-board artillery available, and I forgot about that last time I activated this formation, headquarters can call for artillery and recon units can call for artillery. So up here is a recon unit. Headquarters is a lot closer. At the end of this turn, this smoke screen here will dissipate, and the East Germans are planning to try to move through these woods and get to this bridge objective here, and then eventually, I think, hopefully cross that bridge and then drive on down here and try to capture this final objective. That's what the Warsaw Pact needs to do. They've secured this bridge, and they're going to hold that. There's no question about that. And you'll see here that we've got a couple of high explosive missions, and we have one more smoke mission available to the Warsaw Pact, and those are East German. Those missions have to be called in by the East Germans. The Russian unit cannot call them in. So, and you can call in 2 off-board artillery attacks per turn. And so it seems that dropping some more smoke is probably important. The way smoke works is if you hit if it doesn't scatter, it goes where you want. Wherever the smoke ends up landing, you then put another smoke marker adjacent to that, and then another smoke marker adjacent to either of them. So if we can put smoke in this hex here, then we can run a line of smoke down here, which will give us some cover as we try to make our way through the woods and capture this bridge and then get across this bridge. And it might be an interesting thing. There are some special rules about assaulting across a bridge that could come up. The Americans are going to certainly try to get this unit of Abrams back here to defend the actual bridge if possible. Yeah, they could theoretically try to place it there. I think that's also, no, that's open field, so that's not a good place to be. Although it is rough, for tanks in the city, when they get assaulted by infantry, they struggle with that. So maybe what they're going to try to do is pull this troop back for a last-ditch attempt to defend the final objective. Well, we'll see about that when the time comes. I guess that will be up to the solo assistant, right? Okay, so all of our units are in command. Most of our units are rallied. So we're going to start moving. Now with loaded infantry, you can move your transport unit up to half its movement points and then unload the infantry in the same or adjacent hex. So first we have to do the off-board artillery first. So the first thing we're going to do is make an attempt at calling in another smoke mission right there. Let's see if it lands where we want it to. It does. So I've got to go get a smoke marker. That's a game marker, I guess. Got to get a smoke marker. And now I can put a smoke adjacent to that, and I can put another smoke adjacent to that. So that's decent cover by smoke. The Americans can see through the smoke with their night vision gear, or with their thermal imaging, but they cannot fire as effectively through it. And so that's helpful. Now let's get the smoke mission off the board so we know we don't have it. Now the headquarters can now call in a second a regular high artillery, heavy artillery, high explosive artillery mission down here. See what I mean about being flaky? So let's try that. That also lands where it needs to. And so I think that technically the way you do this is you bring in a fire for effect marker, and then if it doesn't scatter, I guess I thought there was a right click, so interesting. So we know it didn't scatter, but you can right click the fire for effect marker to check for scatter, and strike on target, fire for effect. Love this module. That's why I like Vassal so much better than Tabletop Simulator. There's so much more programmable stuff. So, so artillery strikes each unit in the hex, and the value of the artillery is, you'll see right here, the artillery strength is 3 dice needing force to hit. So we're going to reduce the number of available artillery strikes by 1. Hopefully save that last strike to try to, yeah, I wonder if we're going to wish we had some smoke left for this down here. So let's see what happens. We can now delete the fire for effect marker. So attacking the ITV, 3 needing 4. That's 1 hit, and the ITV gets 1 die needing 6, and then another die needing 5. That fails, and that succeeds. The ITV is unmolested. And now the mortar unit takes another attack, and that's 2 hits. The mortar unit also gets a die needing 6 and a die needing 5. So the mortar unit suffered both of those hits, which is going to lead to it being disrupted and reduced. I did that to the wrong unit, didn't I? Yeah, that unit is not. That's the ITV. That is not supposed to be damaged at all. They did their job. Unreduce. It's the mortar. It is disrupted and it is reduced. So, that was a good show for the East German artillery. Now, the East Germans have 2 additional artillery assets. These are onboard assets, and so they get fired during the unit activation part of the formation impulse, and the headquarters again can call them in. Now, it's unfortunate that they don't see that unit there, but because those are units that are on the map, they can be, those units can be spotted for, and am I right about that? Let's check the player aid, the turn order. So call in off-board artillery strikes, activate units or stacks. Yeah. So they can the headquarters can site for artillery a little bit later, is how I believe that works. So we're going to hold off on using the mortar or the self-propelled artillery for a minute. We're going to figure out what we want to do with our infantry. So as I said, we want to move down here. You know what? I'm doing all this like, oh, we could just drive across this bridge, can't we? These units are still loaded. I could just go, the Americans can't fire 1, 2, 3, 4. Although I think, does driving through smoke cause an extra movement point? Smoke. Ground troops, it costs 1 additional movement point. Yes. For vehicles also, 1 additional movement point. So we cannot quite do that, can we? We could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and be on the bridge. Or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and be on the bridge, but we'd be on the bridge mounted. Which even with the cover of smoke might be a little bit tricky. What do you want to do about that? Also note, I've got an amphibious unit here. I'm going to get to make an amphibious maneuver in a minute. So, and then over here, we've got these units trying to sort of keep this part of the American infantry, defenders here occupied. And so the best way I think to do that is probably to, so we could take these, no, there's no LOS here, right? Because, oh yeah, there is, down the hex side. So yeah, so there's LOS here. So this infantry unit could fire, And do we have any support weapons available for them? We do have a single Spigot anti-tank guided missile, so that would be great for tearing up this M113, but that's probably the unit of least concern on the map from the East German standpoint. We've got our BMPs here. They've got pretty good anti-tank capability. They could come up here and try to shoot here, but I think that first I want to maneuver and end up with my headquarters available to call in some indirect fire and try to suppress these units further. If I'm able to suppress especially the dangerous units, then an assault becomes the best option. Um, and it could potentially eliminate this unit's ability to be ops complete. Of note, this infantry unit could make a spotter check, and if it passes a morale check, it could spot for the artillery and call the mortar and or the self-propelled artillery in. Here's the mortar right here, 82 millimeter mortar, and here is the self-propelled artillery. So those are pretty good units there. They can get the job done. So let's figure out what we're doing with the infantry here. I'm going to say that my main priority is going to be getting my infantry in position to make a run at the bridge. I don't want to be down there in my transport, like loaded up, just available to be plugged away at. So let me get the zoom a little bigger. So that was a loaded transport, so it moved 2 movement points. There's no op fire potential, and that's going to unload the infantry, and the infantry is going to unload into that hex there, and they are going to be marked ops complete. This infantry loaded in the BMPs, you notice the 6 has a half blue, half green circle. That indicates that it's both a transport unit and amphibious capable. To cross an all-water hex side, it has to start its movement on adjacent to that hex and use its entire movement allowance to cross it. So this unit is going to move right here, remaining loaded, and their ops complete. And so I feel like that gives me some decent cards to play. This unit here, I just moved out of the way, so now I've got these fellows left, and the question is, what should I do with them? I think that they are going to move 2, and they can't move farther because of stacking. I could unload them into the smoke hex, but that would, yeah, they're just going to stay right there. So all these units here are ops complete. This reduced formation with the headquarters on it is going to move here and mark itself as ops complete. Not going to unload, can't go any further, but the headquarters is still there somewhere. I think the headquarters is still there somewhere. There's the headquarters. All right. So sometimes the units, when they are on their reduced side, some odd stuff starts to happen, but that looks pretty good right there. And now these disrupted units here, they're going to just move back out of line of sight of the enemy. They're allowed to move away from the enemy if they move into, and they're not allowed to move closer to an enemy unit that they are able to see. And if they move into line of sight, they have to stop, but they're just going to move 1 hex back, so they're not getting clipped by these fellows. This infantry unit here is going to move 1. I'm going to mark it ops complete before I move it in because that's going to be a little bit of a problem. 1, 2, and it's going to just stay there on its own. So again, we're getting ready to do a rush, and I've got this unit here. It could move 1, 2, 3. It does not have thermal imaging, so it cannot shoot through the smoke, not even the thinning smoke, but it can move up to half its movement allowance and take a shot. But before I decide what to do with that, it's time to bring in some indirect fire from onboard units. So the headquarters is going to call on the mortar up here. Mortar has a range of 9. Let's make sure we're in range. We are barely in range. Could also fire there, but the mortar is a little bit weaker. So the mortar is going to take a shot at the infantry in the woods here. So they're going to roll 2 dice, needing 5s to hit, and they score a hit. The infantry gets a single die. No, actually, I think the woods give it 2, right, for ground units. Let's make sure about that. Woods. No, just +1. So the infantry gets a single die needing a 5 or higher to save, and they fail to save, so they are disrupted. So that was an important event from the East German standpoint. You'll see why when the this one won't let me mark it ops complete. All right, I guess that's not in here. Let's not pretend that the mortar moved all over the place. So we're going to clone this marker here and bring it up here and say that order is ops complete. And hopefully I'll remember that that's where it is. So now the headquarters is going to call on the self-propelled artillery unit, which is 3 needing 4s, and it's going to take a shot here at the ITV, because if they could also disrupt that unit, that would set them up for a lot of success in clearing out these Americans. And so let's see what happens. And that's a single hit, and so as before, a single die needing a 6 and then a single die needing a 5. That does not save. That does not save. So a single hit disrupts the ITV, and the offboard artillery is ops complete. So we've also got these tanks here that I've been kind of squandering. They're not super effective tanks, but they could be out front leading the assault, drawing fire, things like that. And then this disrupted unit, and then this unit. So over here, we're now set up to be able to pretty effectively make an assault. So let's activate this unit. No, actually, let's activate this unit right here. 1, 2, 3. There's a reason I'm going to do them in this order. So 1. Now, it could potentially take opportunity fire from the M113, so we have to check the solo assistant. What are its orders? This is at effective range. 2 hexes is effective range for the HE firepower, right? Not AP, 215. And so at effective range, the orders are fire, and it would be onboard indirect fire. Does that mean shuffle? No. I might be messing up and not reshuffling the cards as often as I should. No matter. So the M113 is going to take a shot, a single die needing a 5, and that is a miss, and so it is now marked ops complete. If it had scored a hit, the infantry would have had a single die needing a 5 to save because they were 1 elevation higher. So there we go. Now that's 2, and now we're going to go into the assault. When you do an assault, the movement from the adjacent hex into the assaulting hex does not trigger op fire. But if you are unloading from a transport unit into an assault, that does trigger op fire, I think. In any case, so in an assault, this is hand-to-hand type combat. All hits count. There's no saves of any kind. The infantry, the lower right corner there, 2 needing 4. That's the number of dice they roll. A disrupted unit's 2 hit number is always 6. And ops complete units fire back, as do disrupted units. So the the Americans are going to roll 2 dice needing 6s and 1 needing 5s, and the East Germans are going to roll 2 needing 4. Here's the East German attack. They scored a single hit. That hit will be applied no matter what. And now these are 2 needing 6 for the Americans, none, and 1 needing 5, and none. So no hits applied to the East Germans. The Americans suffered a total of 1 hit, I think, right? 1 hit, yep. And so any units have to be applied. An undamaged unit has to be hit first, so that unit will be disrupted. And now the side that inflicted the fewest hits has to loses. If it's a tie, the defender wins. And so the Americans lost, and so they need to retreat. They could retreat here or here, and pretty obviously here is where they will retreat. And then the assaulting unit occupies the hex. All units that were involved in the assault from either side are marked ops complete. And that was a pretty good outcome. Would have liked to have got a couple more hits, but we're driving them back and putting pressure on them. So now the infantry comes. 1. You can go this way. 2, and now it's going to assault down here. Now the assault in buildings, assaulting vehicles in buildings gives an advantage, and I should have looked that up before I started this. All right, assault modifiers. Infantry assault bonus versus vehicles. Undisrupted infantry gains a -1 to their 2 hit number versus enemy vehicles, either alone or in a stack with no infantry, disrupted or not. If the assault happens in a city or town, the infantry also gains +1 assault firepower dice. So that makes this assault huge. And here are the cross river assaults if that happens. An assault against an undisrupted enemy unit across a bridge or river suffers a +1 to the attacker's 2 hit number, meaning it's harder for us to score hits, and -1 to the assault firepower dice. The enemy also gains -1 to hit. So if you watch the movie A Bridge Too Far, best war movie ever. If you're watching this video and you haven't watched that movie, you should go watch it. Multiple times the Germans, far superior force, tried to dislodge the British paratroopers coming across Arnhem Bridge and failed. Right. So back to quote unquote reality, World War III. So this infantry unit is rolling 3 dice, needing 3s now because of the unsupported vehicle and city bonuses. 3 dice, needing 3. So that's 3 hits. That's brutal. And the Americans are disrupted, so they get 2 dice needing 6. Each vehicle gets 1 needing 6. And they score no hits. So 3 hits. So the first thing that has to happen is the ITV has to be reduced. And now, so they're just going to all be wrecked. 2 more hits. And they are now wrecked, and the East Germans triumphantly enter this town, marked ops complete. So I could now run up here with my BMP-2 and try to assault these infantry again, but a couple of things about that. One, we'd be up here level with the Abrams over here, and so eventually be taking fire. But the other thing that we could do, the BMP could move up here. Is it BVP? BMP-2 could move up here and take a shot at the Abrams or at this Abrams over here with a loss of 2 firepower dice because of having moved. But you know, the Abrams have the reactive armor against anti-tank guided missiles. They're just very hard to dislodge. So I think it makes more sense to do something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like that. Get into a position where we can bring this unit under fire. 1, 2, 3, 4. I got that wrong. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, okay, so 5. So yeah, they're going to go there. They're going to move there. They don't have line of sight here, but they can get involved a little bit. Now up here we have another BMP. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So he can move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They can move down there. They can't be fired on. And the BRDM-AT, it's a recon vehicle with anti-tank missiles loaded on it. It can, where does it want to move? It definitely doesn't want to come into the teeth of the guns of the 1, 2, 3, 4. Move in the same place. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's do that. That it won't survive if it takes the shots from the Abrams at that range, but we'll do that anyway. Okay, this undisrupted unit, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they'll stay right there. They get a little bit of cover from the smoke if they get shot at. This tank here only has 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So these units are all pretty exposed, but the tank's only going to get to shoot at one of them, the American tank. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we'll just stop right there. Don't think I have any other units. These disrupted units here, they can actually move a little closer. 1, they're not in line of sight. Oh no, wait a minute, they are. Yeah. No, this is clipped here. That's clipped by the forest, so they can move 1, 2, 3, and now let's see if these units can see them. No, they cannot. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, there's still a blind hex there, but can they move one more? Yeah, they can move one more. And so they will be ops complete. And then the last thing is this recon unit up here, which doesn't have to be in command. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They're also way out in the open, but are the Americans going to use their limited resource to try to tag that bad boy? So that is the end of this formation. Let's see who will come on to the map next. It is the American helicopter unit, and so I have to pause the video here and take care of some other business, and then I'll come back and see what the American helos are capable of. Alright, so let's bring these helicopters into action here. So these helicopters are flying nap of the Earth. That gives them a 12 hex range maximum when flying nap of the Earth. It also makes their height the same height as the terrain. So here they're at height 0, here they'll be at height 1, here they'll be at 0, here they'll be at 1, at 1. There are 2 anti-aircraft units in the game for the East Germans. There's also some infantry units have the potential to use shoulder-launched missiles. This unit way down, well, they're ops complete, so that doesn't matter. So the American helicopter commander, who's all paranoid about the anti-aircraft fire, is thinking to himself, maybe I could take this unit out here. And if he does that, flying at a height of 0 through here and 1 through here, let's see if the so this unit, so the blind hex is 1 and then 1 blind hex here, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this unit could take a shot if the helicopter flew down here over the woods. But if it flies, could it take a shot up here? it would be at height 1, which would be the same as this, and so no. So this helicopter could fly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and end up there. And would it then have a shot? It would then have a shot at the anti-aircraft unit. It would also fall prey to opportunity fire by the anti-aircraft unit itself. It would be at point blank range. It would be at effective range for its own machine guns. If there is another unit eligible to conduct anti-aircraft fire within range, it is allowed to add a +1 to the attack along with the primary unit. This unit would not be that unit. Another option, I could end up in this hex here. If that was the case, would definitely be eligible to be shot at by both of these units. Another possibility could be to wind up in this destroyed bridge hex. That would allow for a shot at this unit here, but it would also allow this unit to take a shot. There's this cultivated terrain here, which, as I said, I forgot that had an effect on line of sight, and it was actually fortunate to me that I learned that when I did from a comment on the last video, because I'm playing an email game with Terry Simo of this, and the fact that 2 cultivated hexes block line of sight allowed me to sneak a unit around the potential reaction fire of his Leopard 1, and I've got Czechoslovakian T-72s in that game, which are no match for a Leopard of either number. So I have to decide what I think is the best thing to do with these helicopters, and I think that what I'm going to do is activate this one here and fly it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I should have the movement trails on these things. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Now here we don't have line of sight. It clips that hill because I'm at level. Wait, does it clip that hill? Let's find out. Does it clip the hill hex? Yeah, that clips over it. What I'm saying is when it hits the intersection there, that is not clipping it, but the hill is blocking here. So that's 11, and this is 12. And now let me just get this thing oriented correctly because things like that bug me. So now there is a chance for opportunity fire from the anti-aircraft unit, and yeah, just 1 second actually. So I thought that obscuring terrain had an impact on direct fire attacks, but I can't find in the rules that it says that. Only the impact of 2 or more of them blocking. So I think I'm wrong about that, but I'm going to just say that I don't think it does for now. Oh, wait a minute. Are wrecks obscuring terrain? Need to know that for sure. Wrecks, yes. All right, so this move here does not bring me into line of sight here. So, yeah, we're going to have to... We're going to have to go all the way back to the beginning with this helicopter and start this whole thing again, which I have to pause the video again before doing. Alright, I think I got this sorted out here. 1, and I need to make sure that this anti-aircraft unit here doesn't have line of sight. I think we already talked about this, but you know what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to say I think that it has line of sight. Oh, I didn't even think about drawing a card. These solo cards, I'm not sure. Execute counteractions. I'm not sure how they apply to the helicopters. It moves onto the map. Within loss of most units, move and fire. I mean, that more than point blank range. Closest to a player unit that fired. It passes if all player units in LOS or ops complete. I just don't think any of that makes sense. So actually, the truth of the matter is that there's no unit in LOS. So closest to a player unit fires. Then if it's in a defensive terrain, doesn't apply here. Farthest from a target, long range moves towards. So that low risk moves towards the target. So that seems like what the instructions are. So if this helicopter starts here, turn movement trails on. If the helicopter starts here and it moves 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right, so it can get there safely. Oh, I can't take both at once. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and at this point I believe there's line of sight. There is. It's only one obscuring terrain hex, and so this unit can take a shot with 3 dice needing 5s. That is 1 hit, and the helicopter gets a save with 2 dice needing 5. And it saves successfully, so that was what we wanted, was to make it so that we don't have to worry too much about this anti-aircraft unit anymore. And now there's one more hex that we can move here, and I think that we're going to just move right to here, and instead of trying to take out the anti-aircraft unit, well, no, we're going to move we'll stay right where we are, and we'll take our 3 dice needing 5. Make sure I'm right that there's line of sight here. There is. 3 dice needing 5 to hit. That's 1 hit, and so an aircraft unit gets 1 needing 6 and 1 needing 5 to save. Fails the 6, passes the 5. So helicopter's ops complete. And this next helicopter unit here can now move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 to get within point blank range of this tank here. So it's going to fire with 3 needing 4s. 2 hits. This tank has only its armor bonus as a save, 4 needing 5, or armor saves. So that was 2 hits and 1 save, so they have disrupted this T-80, which is alright for them. But now they're hopefully going to be able to go into hover mode and start firing their Hellfires and whatnot. So let's quickly see who the next formation to activate will be. It's the Soviet 345th Guards Tank Regiment. So I have to pause yet again and take care of some other business, and we'll be back in a minute. All right, trying to make our way through the end of turn 7 here. And it is the Russian 3 of the 45th, I think. Third of the 45th Guards Tank Regiment's turn to motor. That's not a Russian unit. Okay, so we are all in command here. That's no problem. Don't really have any targets right at the minute. We will have targets and become targets when we get through this city. But that is what they pay us the big bucks for, right? So first things first, we have to do a rally attempt up here. Let's see. They fail. The disruptor unit fails, and they are looking pretty vulnerable to these two American helicopters here. But fortunately, those pilots are pretty tired. So what do I want to do with my Russian tanks? I want to come storming down here and move across this way. Well, ideally I'd come over this hill, I think. No, there's blown bridges down there. No, definitely not. Yeah, so problem is a long way to go here without any cover under the guns of an Abrams. So we're also going to have to try to sort that out. And we also have to remember that the American infantry unit here has a Dragon that it can fire. It won't be very effective against T-80s, but it will probably get the order to fire regardless. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They can't make it up to the top of the hill. One, two, three. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now they can't get up this hill. I was thinking put some of the T-80s up here, but no, we're just going to go. 1, 2, 3, 4. And so the truth of the matter is so we got to see what the American solo assistant orders us to do here. And, low risk move towards or fire. So the first priority is supposed to be a low risk move towards this unit, but you know, nobody would be making that order, right? So we're just going to fire. This is not going to be a very effective shot. It's an effective range shot with the Dragon ATGM, but they're not going to get into point blank range, so they're going to take the shot here. 3 dice needing 4s, but let's remember the reactive armor. Reactive armor against ATGM, green AP firepower, they decrease their armor save value by 1. So you're going to roll their 3 dice looking for 4s. Oh, wait a minute. Stop. Okay, this unit is the closest unit, and this unit has a reasonably powerful attack. It's going to get to roll 5 dice needing 3s because it's at point blank range. So this is the unit that we refer to first. 1, 2, 3 hits, and we will say they shot at the top tank. It doesn't really matter. So 4 rolls needing 4s because of their reactive composite armor. So 4 needing 4s trying to save 3 hits. And they save only 1 of those hits. So the top tank is disrupted and reduced. And also ops complete. The other tank gets to continue moving. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I forgot all about the band of brothers over here. They're now ops complete at least. 4. And now that infantry unit could come and do an assault, but they're reduced. 4. 5. And now the Dragon unit will take his shot with 3 dice. Okay, there's 2 hits. And again, 4 needing 4s because of the reactive armor. One save, so this unit is disrupted. So those American units, those American infantrymen, they are not to be taken lightly. But now there is no unit that could take a shot at any of these tanks, so they're just going to continue to move. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's got the orange firepower, so it has moved. It loses 2 of its dice, but it still gets the 1, and so here we are firing with our machine guns at point-blank range, 1 die needing 4s against the infantry. That's a hit, and the infantry gets a save for the woods needing a 5, and they save. That is the Army being all they can be. We're going to take this stack here. That's 2 to get into the city, not on the road. 3, 4, 5, 6. Just trying to get a little spacing, I think. This unit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And each of these units here is allowed a shot using its machine guns. Each of these tanks gets 1 die needing a 5. So let's do that one at a time. That's a miss, and that's a hit. The infantry gets 1 save, and that is a failed save, and so they are disrupted. And these 2 tanks now also get shots. 1 die needing 5s. 1, 2, 3, 4. Probably makes more sense to try to keep firing at this more well-armed unit. That's a miss. That's a hit, and here's the save, and that's a fail. And so the infantry unit that has so steadily clung in and fought against all odds is finally done, and that means that the oops, I did that wrong. I need to right-click and call it a wipeout infantry, right? So it goes to the casualty, and this I'm just going to call it suppress for now, and these 2 squad weapons are out of the game. So goodbye to Tom Hanks and Matt Damon and company, and here comes 1, 2, 3, 4. So they're going to get, each of these units is going to get a shot. The top unit's going to get 3 dice needing 5s because the headquarters is with them at the infantry. That's 1 hit, and the infantry gets a save, and they fail their save. So and now this unit gets a single shot needing a 5, and that misses. So moving and firing wildly, they have still managed to freak the infantry out a little bit, which makes sense. You know, they're staring down the tank treads of this big formation of T-80s here. Now this unit is depressed. It can suppressed. It cannot probably also depressed, having been left behind. It can move away from enemies that are in its line of sight, but it has to stop when it moves into a hex. It's in an enemy line of sight, which means that it can move here, and then it has to stop. I think that's correct. Or maybe it's to a new enemy. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to put them down here. I'll check that later. It might be that when they come into view of an enemy they had not previously seen, they have to stop, as long as they're moving away from the enemies they see. That makes more sense, doesn't it? They wouldn't know that these helicopters are here and go a little farther away and they get all scared about seeing them and have to stop. So that seems reasonable. We're going to call that done, and we're going to check the next formation. Remember, we have the American close air support has to come in before this turn can end, and it finally does. And so we're going to take this out to the board. We're going to put that back in the formation deck. We got a 50-50 shot of the formation ending. Now, where do the Americans want to strike? A lot of targets look like they're giving a lot of trouble. Yeah. Well, first of all, we have to roll and see if the airstrike is intercepted or not. And it is not intercepted. It is on station, and it's also not a surprise attack. So, but that doesn't matter. There's only the one unit that can fire at it. So they think the best use of this unit is to launch a pretty powerful attack against the Guards tank formation that has a headquarters unit, because if we can get that headquarters suppressed, that will slow them up some. That would be a good turn of events for the Americans. Now, this Gaskin over here has range to the... I don't know what that means. It's, I guess that was showing point blank range. It's got a range of 20, so you can see it. And the airstrike comes in high enough to, well, does it? That's level 3 right there. Yeah, I better check, better remind myself about that. Alright, so this is 2 levels above the height. So this is level 1, it's at level 2, level 3. This tree here is also level 3. And so that blocks it. It cannot, the anti-aircraft unit that I left back there out of command hoping to get a shot isn't going to get a shot. That's too bad for the East Germans and the Soviets, but let's see what happens here. The Warthog comes in. Let's close up a little bit here. The Warthog comes in, shooting 6 dice, needing 3s. That's a pretty powerful attack. And let's see how they do. 3 hits. All right. So the first unit is with the headquarters. It gets 4 saves, needing 5, plus 1 for the city. So 5 saves, needing 5s. Oh. Not at all. So, yeah, that's bad for the Soviets, but good for the Americans. So this is, that suffers 3 hits, and it is wrecked, and the Warthog does its job. We're going to come back to the headquarters after we see what happens here. Another attack against the second unit. 3 hits again, and the second unit with its 5 saves. No saves, so... boom, boom, out go the lights. So first of all, we have to reduce. We have to roll for this. It is not reduced, but it is suppressed. It might be reduced. I'm going to double check that. But, boy, so I'm going to talk a little bit more at length later about this, but I just think that the narrative of this game that it creates is so intense and cool. You'll see as the ordnance expended, it expends ordnance and is removed from the game, so you know what I do with the air support. I don't often get the right pop-up up. I don't remove it from the game. I just keep it out for an extra turn because I like the close air support missions. So we're going to put it a turn ahead up there. I think that's what I've been doing. And we're going to see if the game if the turn ends. The turn does not end. The Soviet helicopters, who just recently participated in a massacre of East German troops, and they're hoping nobody noticed that. So here we go. This helicopter now, this formation activates. They are no longer ops complete. Yeah, all right, they will be in a minute. So they are now, they're hovering here, and they're just going to take this point-blank shot, try to wipe this Abrams out. And what do we got here? 4 dice, needing 3s for the close range shot. And here we go. This is their final ATGM shot, by the way. 1, 2, 3 hits. Wow, that's rough. The Americans already with a hit. 5 dice, needing 5s. 1 save, but 2 hits. That wrecks them. And this unit is now out of ammo because it was already low on ammo. And it is now ops complete. And so now this unit doesn't have anything to worry about with anti-aircraft fire. So it's going to just come down here and go 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, and it's going to take a shot here with its guns. 3 needing 5s. Didn't hit anybody, but at least it went ahead and shot at the enemy instead of its allies. So yeah, that's unfortunate. It's a little hard to mark this as ops complete. I'll hope that I'll recognize that red X there and realize what's going on. And finally, turn 7 comes to an end. Oh, all formations have activated, so we're going to be moving on to turn 8. So I will be ending this video here finally, and I'm going to be doing a little recap video of where the game is at so far. And I want to remind you all that I said at the beginning that I often cheat in these solo games, and I reserve the right to have magical things happen to reinforce the losing side. And I think we would all agree that NATO is currently the losing side. They are in a bad state right now. The East Germans have driven this small group of American defenders out of these positions here. The Americans, to do anything effective with this force, is going to have to try to mount up and fall back and hope that its multiple operations per turn allows it to get back down, probably into this city here to defend this river crossing. But even that might not be enough. They're going to need some help over here. This unit of tanks is going to hope that it can get out of where it is and take up, maybe here, a sort of hidden reverse slopish kind of defense. But the Russians have, the Warsaw Pact, mainly these Germans, they have a bridge they can cross here. They also have a lot of amphibious units. They have a bridge they can cross here. And yeah, and that's bad news for the Americans. But anyway, enough. This video, I think, is probably pretty long. All right, thanks for watching.